The message arrived without warning on a quiet Tuesday morning. Humanity was not alone, and the Galactic Confederation wanted to establish formal relations. Earth's governments scrambled to respond, selecting their finest representatives for this historic first contact. Admiral Park stood tall as he led the human delegation through the massive doors of the Confederation Council chamber. The room stretched impossibly high, filled with beings from 27 different worlds. Some floated in specialized atmosphere bubbles. Others stood on multiple limbs or hovered using technology humans could barely comprehend. Park had practiced his speech for days. He believed in humanity's potential despite their late arrival to interstellar travel. The 12 vessels in Earth's fleet might be few, but they represented incredible achievement for a species that had only discovered faster-than-light travel 30 years ago. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Confederation, Park began, his voice steady despite his racing heart. Earth is honored to join this gathering of advanced civilizations. While our journey to the stars began recently, we have made remarkable progress. He activated the holographic display showing Earth's flagship, the Horizon, alongside the 11 other vessels that comprised humanity's entire interstellar fleet. The ships rotated slowly in the projection, their sleek designs highlighting Earth's emphasis on efficiency over brute force. Our vessels may be few, but they incorporate our most advanced technologies, Park continued. We look forward to peaceful exchange and mutual growth as we join the galactic community. The silence that followed lasted only seconds before it shattered into something worse. Laughter, first from one section of the chamber, then spreading like a wave. The Confederation ambassador, a tall being with iridescent scales and 4 arms, stepped forward. Its translator device clicked and whirred before producing perfectly accented English. 12 ships. The tone came through clearly despite the translation. Pure condescension. The smallest member race maintains at least 300 warships. Your entire fleet wouldn't qualify as a border patrol for even our most distant territories. More laughter followed. A delegate with multiple eye stalks didn't even attempt to hide its amusement, the stalks waving in what humans would later learn was their equivalent of hysterical laughter. Another delegate, a being that seemed to be mostly gas contained within a mechanized suit, spoke next. Perhaps they could serve as our messenger service. Small vessels are good for that, at least. Admiral Park's expression remained neutral through years of diplomatic training, but beside him, Chief Engineer Kim could not hide her reaction. Her fingers gripped the podium edge until her knuckles turned white. Her mind, always working faster than those around her, was already calculating possibilities, probabilities, and a plan that would change humanity's future. We understand our current position, Park responded evenly. But Earth has much to offer beyond military might. Our cultural achievements, scientific advancements. Yes, the ambassador interrupted. All species have their quaint contributions. However, the galaxy operates on power, resources, and the ability to protect what is yours. Its upper arms made a dismissive gesture. The terms for Earth are simple. You may become a protectorate of the Confederation, paying reasonable tribute and resources and accepting our authority in all interstellar matters. And if we decline? Park asked, though he already suspected the answer. The ambassador's mouth parts shifted in what might have been a smile. Then the Confederation would be forced to consider Earth a potential threat to galactic stability. Unaligned worlds with space-faring capability present certain risks. The threat was clear. Accept servitude or face destruction. We request time to consult with our governments, Park said carefully. You have 1 Earth month, the ambassador replied. We look forward to your acceptance of our generous offer. The journey back to Earth was silent and tense. Kim spent most of it in the ship's engineering bay, making sketches and calculations, barely sleeping. 3 days after their return, Earth's United Council, representatives from all nations with space capability, gathered in a secure underground facility in Geneva. They see us as primitives, Park explained to the assembled leaders. Their technology is centuries beyond ours in most areas. A direct military confrontation would be suicide. So we surrender? Asked the Brazilian president, anger evident in her voice. Become their servants? No. Engineer Kim spoke up for the first time. We build something they can't imagine. All eyes turned to her as she activated her own holographic display. The image showed a vessel unlike anything humanity had constructed before, not just larger than current ships, but on an entirely different scale. The Confederation's advantages are based on numbers and technology, Kim explained. We can't match either in the time we have. But during the council meeting, my sensors detected something interesting about their shield harmonics. She displayed a series of complex equations. Their defensive systems are standardized for vessels under 5 kilometers in length. It's a fundamental assumption built into their technology. What are you suggesting? Asked the Chinese premier. We build a ship so large it defies their expectations, Kim replied. One vessel with a mass and power of 1,000 of theirs. My calculations show their weapons and shields would be ineffective against something of sufficient size. The resources required would be astronomical. The European Union Chancellor objected. Yes, Kim agreed. We would need to commit nearly all of Earth's space mining operations and manufacturing capacity. But it's possible. Admiral Park studied the designs. How long would this take? 5 years, Kim said. If we start now and commit everything. Silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. The Confederation gave us 1 month to respond, Park reminded them. Then we give them the answer they expect, the American president said quietly. We agree to their terms, appear to submit, while secretly building our response. The vote was unanimous. Earth would appear to surrender while secretly preparing its one chance at true independence. Project Eclipse was born, and Engineer Kim was given 5 years to save humanity from becoming slaves to the stars. The enormous asteroid drifted silently among thousands of others in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. From the outside, it looked unremarkable, just another chunk of space rock circling the sun. But inside, hidden from prying alien eyes, humanity worked with desperate purpose. Engineer Kim stood on the observation platform overlooking the massive construction bay carved into the heart of the asteroid. Workers in spacesuits crawled like ants over the partially completed frame of what would become Earth's salvation or final folly. Massive robotic arms moved enormous sections of hull plating into position, while laser arrays welded them into place. Progress report, Kim said, her voice tight with the strain of too many sleepless nights. Her assistant handed her a tablet. We're at 37% completion. Still behind schedule, but improving. Kim nodded. On paper, Earth had surrendered to the Confederation's demands. Monthly shipments of minerals and technology flowed to their new alien overlords, but those shipments were carefully calculated, just enough to avoid suspicion, while the bulk of Earth's resources poured into Project Eclipse. The construction bay doors opened, admitting another cargo ship laden with rare metals mined from distant asteroids. Earth's official records showed these resources going to colony development. The Confederation didn't need to know that all colony expansion had been secretly halted. Kim made her way down to the main engineering lab where Dr. Lee was running another simulation. The xenophysicist had become crucial to the project after his breakthrough analysis of Confederation shield technology. Show me, Kim said, entering the lab. Lee looked up from his workstation, dark circles under his eyes matching Kim's own. The latest test confirms the theory. He gestured to the simulation playing on the large screen. Look at what happens when their standard shield configuration encounters a vessel larger than 5 kilometers. The simulation showed a shimmering energy field collapsing as it tried to wrap around an oversized object. Their shield harmonics are designed for smaller vessels, Kim asked. Exactly, Lee confirmed. It's not just a limitation. It's a fundamental assumption built into their technology. They've never needed to shield anything larger because no one in the Confederation builds ships beyond that scale. Their defensive systems create a frequency resonance that becomes unstable when stretched beyond certain dimensions. Kim smiled for the first time in weeks. And we're building something 100 kilometers long. Their shields will be useless against the Umbra, Lee concluded. And based on my analysis of their weapon systems, they're similarly optimized for targets within conventional size parameters. Kim called the project team together that evening in the asteroid's central chamber. Engineers, physicists, construction chiefs, and military advisors gathered to hear her speak. We can't beat them with numbers, she explained, projecting images of the Confederation's vast fleets. So we won't try. We'll beat them with scale. She switched to a rendering of their project, a vessel so massive it defied conventional shipbuilding logic. The ESS Umbra will be unlike anything the galaxy has seen. The construction continued day and night. The asteroid's interior was hollowed out to serve as both shipyard and material source. Regular supply ships brought components too complex to manufacture on-site. Workers lived in cramped quarters, many not seeing Earth for months at a time. But problems mounted as quickly as progress. A critical power coupling failed, setting back construction by 3 weeks. 2 habitat sections decompressed, thankfully without casualties. The artificial gravity generators proved incompatible with the ship's massive power grid and had to be redesigned from scratch. Meanwhile, the Confederation's envoys on Earth grew increasingly suspicious. Their quarterly inspections became monthly, then weekly. They're asking questions about the missing resources, Admiral Park reported during his monthly visit to the shipyard. Our tributary payments are technically meeting the minimum requirements, but they've noticed the discrepancy between our mining output and what we're providing. We need at least 8 more months, Kim replied, leading him through a section of the Umbra's cavernous interior. They passed a crew installing the revolutionary shield generators that would protect the massive vessel. I'm not sure we have 8 more weeks, Park said grimly. Their inspection teams are demanding access to the asteroid belt operations. Project Director Han joined them, his face grim. We could try to accelerate the timeline, but rushing crucial systems could be catastrophic. Kim stopped walking and turned to face both men. What's our minimum operational capacity? What systems do we absolutely need to launch? Han considered the question. Propulsion, basic life support, structural integrity, and the main defensive systems, but that's still at least 4 months of work. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call from Earth. The Deep Space Monitoring Station had detected a large Confederation fleet assembling near Proxima Centauri, the nearest star system to Earth. How many ships? Park demanded. 47 vessels, including 3 command carriers, came the response. They're not making any attempt to hide their movements. The Admiral's face hardened. This isn't a routine patrol. They're coming for a confrontation. Han turned to Kim, his voice rising with urgency. We need more time. The Umbra's main systems aren't fully integrated. The shield harmonics are still being calibrated. Time is the one resource we've run out of, replied Admiral Park, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Launch what we have. The next 48 hours were a blur of frantic activity. Systems were brought online before their final testing. Crews worked in shifts to complete critical components. The massive engines, Earth's most closely guarded technological advancement, were powered up for the first time. Kim stood in the Umbra's command center, watching as status reports flooded in from all sections of the enormous vessel. Many systems showed yellow caution indicators, some flashed red, but the core functions were operational. All essential personnel are aboard, Han reported. Non-essential construction teams are evacuating to the support ships. Kim nodded, her eyes fixed on the main display, showing the asteroid's outer shell that had hidden their work for years. Soon that shell would be discarded, revealing to the galaxy what humanity had built in secret. The Confederation fleet has entered the solar system, came the report from Earth's Defense Command. They'll reach Earth in 6 days. Kim took a deep breath and gave the order that would change humanity's future. Begin separation sequence. Prepare the Umbra for launch. Deep in the asteroid belt, The unremarkable space rock began to crack along precise, predetermined lines. The outer shell fell away in massive chunks, revealing the true nature of what lay within. Humanity's impossible gambit and last hope for freedom among the stars. Earth's 12 ships moved in perfect formation as they engaged the approaching Confederation fleet. From the command center of the EDS Defender, Admiral Park watched the tactical display with grim determination. His vessels were performing admirably against impossible odds, executing textbook delaying maneuvers while appearing to fight with everything they had. "Continue falling back toward Earth orbit," Park ordered. "Make it look good, but minimize your exposure." His ships darted between the much larger alien vessels, firing just enough to draw attention but avoiding direct confrontation. The strategy was working. The Confederation fleet pursued them steadily, exactly as planned. Aboard the Confederation flagship, Admiral Jum observed the human resistance with growing irritation. The massive vessel dwarfed anything in Earth's fleet, its purple-tinted hull covered with weapon emplacements that could reduce a planet's surface to molten slag. "These humans are more annoying than dangerous," Jum commented to his second-in-command. "Their ships are like insects buzzing around us." "They're surprisingly agile," the officer replied, "but their weapons barely penetrate our outer shields." Jum's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of dismissal. "Their resistance is merely symbolic. They know they cannot win." He rose from his command chair, his tall frame radiating authority. "Prepare to broadcast on all Earth frequencies. It's time to end this charade." The massive alien stood before the communication array, his image transmitted to every screen and communication device on Earth. "People of Earth," Jum began, his translator converting his vibrating speech patterns into clear English, "your pathetic resistance is both futile and annoying. The Confederation offered you the privilege of serving as a protectorate, and you responded with deception and defiance. On screens across Earth, billions watched with dread as the alien continued. Your failure to deliver the promised resources revealed your true intentions. Now you will learn the price of defying the Confederation." His voice hardened. "Surrender immediately, or we will reduce your major population centers to ash." In cities worldwide, people looked to the sky, wondering if these would be their final moments. Children were rushed into shelters as emergency sirens wailed. World leaders gathered in secure bunkers, watching helplessly as humanity's fate hung in the balance. Admiral Park received the broadcast in stoic silence. Everything now depended on timing. "All ships, continue evasive maneuvers," he ordered. "Draw them into position." The Confederation fleet spread into bombardment formation as they approached Earth orbit. Their weapons systems powered up, glowing with energy that could shatter continents. "No response from the humans," Admiral reported the Confederation communications officer. "As expected," Jum replied. "They hoped for mercy until the end. Prepare to." "Admiral," the censor officer interrupted, panic evident in his voice. "There's something approaching from the asteroid belt, a massive object moving at incredible speed." "Show me," Jum demanded. The main display shifted to show something emerging from behind the scattered rocks of the asteroid belt. At first, it appeared to be a shadow, a void against the stars. "What am I looking at?" Jum asked, his irritation evident. "Sir, the sensors are detecting a solid object." But the officer hesitated. "These readings can't be correct." "Explain." "The object appears to be a vessel, but it's over 100 kilometers in length." "That's impossible." Jim stared at the display in disbelief as the shape resolved itself. It was indeed a ship, a human ship, but of such monstrous proportions that it defied belief. Its dark hull seemed to absorb rather than reflect light, creating the impression of a moving void. "Magnify," Jum ordered, his voice unnaturally quiet. The image zoomed in to show details of the impossible vessel. Its hull bore the unmistakable markings of human design, but scaled up to godlike proportions. Running lights traced lines along its length like stars arranged in perfect formation. How? Jum whispered. The humans don't have this technology. Nothing in our intelligence suggested. Admiral, the communications officer interrupted. We're receiving a transmission from the vessel. On the bridge of the ESS Umbra, Chief Engineer Kim stood before the communications array. Despite the rushed launch and numerous systems still showing warning indicators, the massive ship moved precisely as designed. Through the enormous forward viewport, she could see the Confederation fleet, their ships now looking like toys against the backdrop of Earth. Open a channel to the Confederation flagship, Kim ordered, her voice steady despite the exhaustion of the past days. The communications officer nodded. Channel open, broadcasting on all frequencies. Kim took a deep breath and spoke the words she had rehearsed in her mind for 5 years. This is Chief Engineer Kim of the Earth Shield Ship Umbra, she announced. Perhaps you'd like to reconsider your terms. Her message echoed through the Confederation fleet, accompanied by the impossible image of the Umbra continuing its approach. The massive vessel positioned itself between Earth and the invasion fleet, literally blocking the sun from the aliens' perspective and casting a shadow over their ships. On Earth, people emerged from shelters to watch live feeds of the encounter. The Umbra's massive form appeared on screens worldwide, bringing gasps of astonishment followed by cheers of hope. Admiral Jum stood frozen, staring at the tactical display as the human monstrosity blotted out the stars. His second-in-command approached cautiously. Admiral, shall we open fire? Jum didn't respond immediately. His species prided themselves on logical assessment of threats, but nothing had prepared him for this. The vessel before him violated every understanding of what humans could achieve. Admiral, the officer pressed. Your orders. Jum's 6 eyes narrowed as he made his decision. All ships target the human vessel. Full weapons release. Let's see if this shadow has substance. Aboard the Umbra, tactical alerts flared as the Confederation fleet reoriented toward them. They're powering up weapons, reported the tactical officer. Kim nodded calmly. Activate defensive systems. Bring the shield harmonics online. Shield systems at 60% capacity, came the response. Not all sections are fully calibrated. It will be enough, Kim replied with quiet confidence. They're about to discover that size matters. The first volley from the Confederation fleet lit up space, energy beams and projectiles streaking toward the Umbra like a meteor shower. Under normal circumstances, such an attack would vaporize any vessel. The impacts against the Umbra's hull looked like fireflies landing on a mountain. Damage report, Kim requested. Minimal surface scoring on outer hull sections, came the astonished reply. Their weapons are designed for smaller targets. The energy disperses across our hull before it can penetrate. On the command deck, a cheer went up from the crew. 5 years of sacrifice and secrecy had paid off in this moment. Kim allowed herself a small smile before issuing her next order. Open a channel to Admiral Park. The Admiral's face appeared on screen, tension visible despite his disciplined expression. The Umbra is in position, Admiral, Kim reported. Earth is protected. Park nodded. Well done, Engineer Kim. Now let's show the Confederation exactly what humanity is capable of. As the Confederation fleet prepared for another volley, the shadow of the Umbra loomed larger, blotting out the stars and changing the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Confederation fleet recovered quickly from their initial shock. Admiral Jum's 6 eyes narrowed as he assessed the situation. This impossible human vessel had surprised them, but no single ship could withstand the combined firepower of 47 Confederation warships. All vessels, coordinate targeting, Jum commanded. Focus fire on their forward section. Maximum power to all weapon systems. The alien ships moved with practiced precision, arranging themselves into an attack formation. Their weapons charged, glowing with deadly energy, before unleashing a storm of destructive force against the Umbra. Beams of concentrated energy struck the massive human vessel from multiple angles. Missile barrages followed, creating blossoming explosions across the Umbra's dark hull. For several minutes, The barrage continued without pause. On the command deck of the Umbra, the crew braced as the ship trembled slightly under the assault. "Damage report," Kim requested calmly. The tactical officer checked his readings, then looked up with an expression of disbelief. "Minimal damage to outer hull sections. No penetration. The energy weapons are dispersing across our surface area, exactly as Dr. Lee predicted." Dr. Lee stood nearby, monitoring the ship's systems. "Their weapons are calibrated for vessels under 5 kilometers. The energy dissipates before it can breach our armor." Kim nodded. The theory had been proven correct in the most dramatic way possible. The Umbra wasn't just big. It was designed specifically to exploit the standardized assumptions of Confederation technology. "Their weapons are ineffective," Kim announced to the crew. "Now it's our turn." She turned to the weapons officer. "Activate targeting systems. Remember our mission parameters. Target their propulsion and weapons systems only. We're not here to massacre." The weapons officer nodded and began inputting commands. The Umbra's specialized weapons had been designed with precision rather than destruction in mind. "Targeting solutions complete," he reported. "Ready to fire." "Proceed," Kim ordered. The Umbra released a series of concentrated energy pulses, each targeting specific systems on the Confederation vessels. Unlike the aliens' weapons, these beams were calibrated to penetrate shields while minimizing structural damage. 7 Confederation ships suddenly went dark, their power cores safely disabled by the precision strikes. Their emergency systems kept life support functioning, but weapons and engines were completely offline. "Second targeting sequence ready," the weapons officer announced. "Fire," Kim confirmed. Another volley launched from the Umbra. 5 more alien vessels lost power, drifting helplessly in space. Aboard the Confederation flagship, chaos erupted as reports flooded in. "Admiral, 12 vessels have lost all power," the tactical officer reported. "Their cores have been precisely disabled." "Impossible," Jum hissed. "No weapon could target so precisely through our shields." The human vessel is firing again. 3 more Confederation ships went dark. The carefully coordinated attack formation began to falter as captains took evasive action to avoid the next precision strike. A communication came through from one of the Confederation captains. "Admiral, their technology is beyond our intelligence assessments. We should withdraw and reassess." "Coward," Jim snarled. "No human creation can defeat the Confederation. All vessels, focus fire on their command section. No human engineering could protect against our combined firepower." The remaining Confederation ships attempted to regroup, but fear was spreading through the fleet. The monster ship had appeared from nowhere and was systematically disabling their vessels without destroying them, a display of power and restraint that was more frightening than simple destruction. On the Umbra's bridge, Kim watched the tactical display as several Confederation vessels broke formation, pulling away from the engagement. "They're beginning to retreat," the tactical officer noted. Kim nodded and opened a communication channel to the entire Confederation fleet. Her image would be displayed on every alien ship. "This is Chief Engineer Kim of the Earth Shield ship Umbra," she announced. "All vessels who stand down will be treated according to interstellar prisoner protocols. We have no desire for unnecessary casualties." The message was clear. Surrender would be accepted, and lives would be spared. It was a gesture of mercy from a position of overwhelming strength. More Confederation vessels began powering down their weapons, effectively surrendering. Within minutes, nearly half the fleet had stood down. But Admiral Jum was not among them. His flagship remained at full power, weapons still targeting the Umbra. "Admiral," his second-in-command pleaded, "we should consider the humans' offer. They could have destroyed our vessels but chose to disable them instead." "I will not surrender to primitives," Jum roared. "They tricked us. They hid their true capabilities while pretending to submit." He pushed his officer aside and took direct control of the navigation system. "If our weapons cannot penetrate their hull, then we will use our ship itself." With a series of rapid commands, Guillaume altered the flagship's course, directing it toward the Umbra's central section at maximum speed. The massive Confederation vessel's engines flared with dangerous intensity as it accelerated. "Admiral, the stress will tear our ship apart before impact," his engineer warned. "Then we die with honor," Guillaume replied coldly. Aboard the Umbra, alarms sounded as the tactical systems detected the new threat. "The Confederation flagship has changed course," the tactical officer reported urgently. "They're on a direct collision course with our central section." Kim studied the display, quickly calculating options. "Can we disable them before impact?" "Negative," the weapons officer responded. "They've overridden their safety systems. Their engines are pushing beyond safe limits. Impact in 50 seconds. Dr. Lee looked up from his console. "A collision at that velocity will cause significant damage to both vessels." Kim made her decision instantly. "Evasive maneuvers. Shift our position to minimize impact area." The helmsman worked frantically at the controls. "We're trying, but our size makes rapid movement impossible. The best we can do is angle our hull to deflect their impact." "Do it," Kim ordered. "All personnel, brace for impact. Seal emergency bulkheads." The Umbra's massive form began to rotate slowly, attempting to present its most heavily armored section to the oncoming threat. Throughout the enormous vessel, crew members secured equipment and grabbed handholds. On the Confederation flagship, Admiral Guillaume watched the distance counter drop rapidly. The Umbra filled their view screen now, its dark hull growing larger by the second. "For the glory of the Confederation," Guillaume declared, his 6 eyes fixed on the human vessel with hatred and determination. His officers braced for the inevitable. The distance counter reached 0. The Confederation flagship slammed into the Umbra's angled hull with catastrophic force. The alien vessel's forward section crumpled instantly, its structure buckling under the tremendous impact. Secondary explosions rippled through its length as power systems overloaded. Aboard the Umbra, the impact sent violent shockwaves through the massive structure. Crew members were thrown from their stations despite safety harnesses. Lights flickered throughout the ship as power fluctuated. Kim picked herself up from the floor, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. "Damage report." The systems officer worked frantically at his damaged console. "Hull breach in sections 42 through 47. Emergency bulkheads holding. Power fluctuations throughout the ship, but core systems remain online. Casualties. Reports still coming in. Medical teams responding to all affected sections." Kim limped to the main viewport. The Confederation flagship was now a twisted wreck, embedded in the Umbra's hull like a bullet that had struck armor. Parts of the alien vessel had sheared off completely, debris floating in the void of space. "Status of the Confederation vessel?" she asked quietly. "Catastrophic damage," came the solemn reply. "No life signs detected in the forward sections. Some emergency power signatures in the aft compartments." Kim nodded grimly. "Launch rescue teams to the surviving sections. Save who we can." She turned to face her bridge crew, who were still recovering from the violent impact. Despite the damage, despite the casualties, they had prevailed. "Status of the remaining Confederation fleet?" she asked. The tactical officer checked his displays. 28 vessels have powered down weapons and surrender. The remaining 7 are retreating at maximum speed. Kim took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. David had defeated Goliath, not with a sling, but by becoming a greater giant. "Open a channel to Earth," she said quietly. "Tell them the threat has been neutralized." The repair crews worked day and night on the damaged sections of the Umbra. The collision with Admiral Guillaume's flagship had torn open 3 entire decks and injured dozens of crew members. 2 had died when an emergency bulkhead failed. They were the first human casualties in what people were already calling the Shadow War. Kim walked slowly through the medical bay, stopping to speak with each injured crew member. Some had burns, others broken bones from being thrown during impact. Despite their injuries, they greeted her with pride in their eyes. "We did it," one young engineer said from his bed, his arm in a cast. We showed them. Kim nodded. Yes, we did. Rest now. You've earned it. On the command deck, the tactical display showed the current situation. 7 Confederation ships had retreated at faster-than-light speeds, carrying news of Earth's shocking defense. 28 vessels remained in Earth's orbit, powered down in surrender. Their crews were being treated well, many expressing surprise at human mercy. Admiral Park arrived on the Umbra 3 days after the battle. He stood with Kim at the massive viewport, looking out at Earth shining blue and green against the blackness of space. The Confederation Council has requested an emergency meeting, Park said. They're reconsidering their position regarding Earth. Kim allowed herself a small smile. I imagine they are. The news of Earth's impossible vessel spread quickly across the galaxy. The Umbra defied conventional understanding of shipbuilding. Its very existence challenged the Confederation's technological superiority. Most shocking was that a primitive species had identified and exploited a fundamental weakness in alien technology that none had discovered in centuries. 2 weeks later, a new delegation from Earth stood before the Confederation Council. The chamber that had once rung with mocking laughter was now silent with respect and fear. Admiral Park led the delegation once again, but this time Chief Engineer Kim stood at his side, her quiet presence a reminder of what humanity could accomplish. The Confederation ambassador spoke first, its tone notably lacking the previous condescension. The recent incident has prompted the Council to reassess Earth's status, the ambassador said carefully. We recognize that humanity possesses unique technological innovation that could benefit the Confederation as a whole. Park nodded but remained silent, letting the ambassador continue. Therefore, we are prepared to offer Earth full membership in the Galactic Confederation, with all rights and privileges. No tributes will be required. The chamber remained silent as Park considered the offer. This was a complete reversal of their previous demands. No longer would Earth be a servant. Now they were being invited as equals. We accept your terms, Admiral Park said calmly, and we look forward to peaceful cooperation. The formal proceedings concluded with the signing of treaties and membership documents. As the human delegation prepared to depart, one Confederation member approached Kim privately. The alien was from a species known for their scientific achievements, their slender blue-tinged form moving gracefully. Engineer Kim, the alien began, your vessel is truly remarkable. I must confess my scientific curiosity. It hesitated before asking the question clearly burning in many minds. How many more of these vessels does Earth possess? Kim smiled slightly. The Umbra is merely the first of 3 planned ships. The other 2 are nearing completion. The alien's eyes widened, and Kim knew the information would spread quickly through the Confederation. What she didn't reveal was that Earth could barely afford to maintain the single vessel they had built. The resources required had nearly bankrupted the planet's economy. Building 2 more would be impossible for decades, but the galaxy didn't need to know that. Sometimes, perception of power was as effective as power itself. Back on Earth, the mood was celebratory but cautious. The United Council met to discuss their new position in galactic politics. We should immediately demand reparations from the Confederation, suggested one council member. We have them at a disadvantage. No, Admiral Park replied firmly. We will not become the bullies we just defeated. Our goal was freedom, not dominance. Chief Engineer Kim supported his position. The Umbra wasn't built to conquer. It was built to protect. Let's not forget that purpose. In the months that followed, Earth carefully navigated its new status. The Umbra remained visible in orbit, a constant reminder of humanity's capabilities. Though stretched thin, Earth maintained the illusion that the massive vessel was fully operational and that its sister ships were indeed under construction. Representatives from various Confederation species began visiting Earth, not as conquerors but as curious equals. Many were particularly impressed that humans had chosen precision over destruction during the battle, disabling rather than destroying their opponents. The Alvani, a species known for their philosophy of peaceful coexistence, were among the first to propose trade agreements with Earth. "We value your restraint," their ambassador explained. "Any species that chooses mercy when holding power is worthy of friendship." Within a year, Earth established itself as a major power despite having the smallest fleet in the Confederation. Several peaceful member species formed new trade alliances with humans, impressed by their innovation rather than their aggression. On the anniversary of the battle, Kim stood alone on the observation deck of the Umbra, looking out at the stars. The massive ship had become a symbol throughout the galaxy, a shadow that had changed everything. Admiral Park joined her quietly. "The Council has approved our proposal for a new Confederation charter," he said, "one that protects the rights of smaller worlds against the larger powers." Kim nodded. "So we've changed more than just our own fate." Indeed. Park gazed out at the stars. "They thought size and numbers were everything. You proved them wrong." "It wasn't just me," Kim said. "It was all of us, working together, sacrificing together." Park smiled. "The Alvani have a saying, 'The smallest star may cast the longest shadow.' I think we've proven that quite literally." Kim returned the smile. "Sometimes, a single shadow can indeed be more powerful than 1,000 stars." Beyond the viewport, Earth turned peacefully in the void, no longer alone and no longer afraid. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson about underestimating the determination and ingenuity of a species pushed too far. And humanity had learned that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't destruction, it's imagination. The end.